Welcome back, everybody. This is Nathan Daly. I am your law enforcement translator. As you know, I'm here to provide insight to a lot of these difficult topics involving law enforcement and current event issues, you guys. So listen, we have a very, very interesting, listen, I know you see me again. You know, when I have my guest, I got to get a little dapper. I got to let the chocolate out. I got to keep it all contained a little bit. You guys aren't used to your brother in the tie. So listen, I do this when I have my guest shows, when I'm bringing up important people to have these conversations. Let me not say important people, because one day I might be slipping and not wear it, and you guys will be like, I'm not important. So that's not the case. But I do like to get a little spiffy when I have some guests, very important guests, two important guests. You guys seen the trailer before you played this video to give you a little backstory about what's going on. You guys, you know the purpose of my channel, so I don't have to mention it, but I'm going to give you some backstory for those who are here for the first time. First, before I dive into that, let me get into the chat real quick. Listen, thank you guys so much. Listen, you know, I just got off a stream. We're talking about the crazy domestic violence case with Johnny Depp and his ex-wife, Amber Heard. Very interesting topic, you guys. It was a great conversation. So I appreciate you guys for coming right after that, 30 minutes later, and jumping right back on. You guys know how I do my streams. We get into and dive deep into these topics. So what are we talking about today? It's in reference to police transparency. It's in reference to the relationship that law enforcement has with the citizens that they serve. This is a very sensitive topic for me, guys. You know, this is the reason for my channel. This is the purpose for it. You know, after my accident, you know, I spent 2 years just trying to recover. And in that time with COVID and that time with the protesting, the riots, and all the police shootings, you guys, I sat down and I said, I need to find a way to bring about change. I want to bring about some real solutions and have real conversations. I saw the things the politicians were doing, and it was foolishness, right? No real reform, a lot of band-aids, a lot of pacifying, but no real solutions, you guys. I'm all about solutions. That's all I care about. At the end of the day, we can always complain about things, or we can do something about it. I decided to do something about it. And so here we are, right? So you guys know this is the purpose of my channel. So when incidents happen, I want to dive into it and talk about it. Hear the story of the people who are actually going through it and find out what it is that really sparked this situation. How can we get in the middle of it? How can we actually bring about some real ideas to have real impact? I'm telling you, the stuff they've been doing before doesn't work, and it won't work because it doesn't address the core problems. We're going to hear from two people, an amazing young lady, and she's going to tell her story about her encounter with a group of law enforcement officers in Arlington, Texas. We're going to hear from her attorney. He's also going to be present with us. He's going to also shed some light on the case. He's also going to talk about the law. He's going to talk about the hindrance that he has experienced dealing with police departments, you guys. This is important. We need to know from the ground what's going on from the ground, the people who are actually doing the job. I tell you all the time, if you try to get advice too high up on the food chain, it'll be a little too political, right? You need to talk to people who are doing the actual work. They will tell you the truth, right? No smoke and mirrors. I love talking to people who actually do the work. And that is what we're going to talk about tonight. The work, the real problem. And listen, you guys, as you know, I always have solutions, and I have it for you. I'm going to bring you some interesting solutions. So let me dive to the chat a little bit. Let me see who's here with us tonight. The usual suspects, you know, my big homie right here, Dre's in here. This is Dre dropping gems Jenkins. You guys know when he shows up, he's always spreading wisdom. So I appreciate him always here. Yes, I finally got the tie on. Last time I tried to get the tie, it was a struggle tie. So I was like, nah, you guys aren't ready. I told you I'm gonna step up and bring the tie on you. So who's in here? Yes, thank you. You know, your brother's looking good. I appreciate that. Chocolate in full effect, you guys. So shout out to everybody, to my moderators. Thank you guys so much. Yes, Lioness, always with the shalom power. Yes, shalom. I love the energy. Real people who do the job, you guys. That's what it's all about. We have to stop talking to these word wizards who just want to sell you a dream, sell you a fantasy. I'm going to be honest with you. Someone earlier in the chat, they made a statement. They say, hey, Nathan, you can't play both sides. I assumed he was talking to me. It's not about playing both sides, you guys. I say that I'm the law enforcement translator. What does that mean? What does a translator do? Right? I'm here to speak on behalf of both sides. Why? There's so much miscommunication, you guys. There's a lot of miscommunication. We have too many people in this profession that just don't want to be honest. Just be honest. What's the reality? We are here to serve people. That's my job. That's the oath that I took, to serve people. If you're in this profession and you're not a servant, you don't have the heart of a servant, you don't belong here. We don't need you here. If you have an ego problem, you have issues with your emotions, you can't control them, you don't belong in this profession. So I think it's time that people who are doing this work speak up. They say what needs to be changed and they be a part of that change. And I think that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Yes, ready for business. You guys, listen, I have two amazing people I'm bringing up. And it's a lot. We got a lot to talk about. To my moderators, if you go into the chat, in the description section of the video, you will have the contact information for Mr. Elmazi, who is the attorney for Miss Marie. I'll be bringing both of them up. Please, if you could, drop their contact information throughout the stream in the chat so people know how they can follow them and get in contact with them. I'll let them introduce themselves. And then I'm also going to give a quick little backstory for those who are not familiar with the viral video. So I'm going to give you a little backstory. I'm going to play the video, and then I'm going to bring them up, and we're going to talk about it. All right. So this all stemmed from a TikTok video. Miss Marie, she actually was in a situation where the police were called, and she recorded the statements of a supervisor who was trying to explain what happened or why she was being detained. And so I'm gonna play the video for you guys, and then we're gonna talk about it after they come up. We'll go ahead and dissect it, and I'll give you my points of view on how we can make things better and why this is an issue. So I'm going to play the video real quick, and then that way you guys can be familiar, and then I'll be bringing the guest up, and then we're gonna dive into the conversation. All right, so let's see, how can I move myself out the way?
So this is a learning curve for you? Putting guns to an innocent person back, that's a learning curve.
I'm not saying that, I'm just saying, I said every call, there's something to learn.
That's a learning curve. You put guns to my back, that's a learning curve for you? That's a learning curve? You put guns to my back. That's a learning curve? I could have died. And that's a fucking learning curve for you? A learning curve. A learning curve? Really? A learning curve? A learning curve? That's a learning curve, bud.
You got the call.
They put guns to my back.
Okay.
That's a learning curve?
Okay.
A learning curve? Really? A learning curve? This is my life. And you want to talk about your fucking education? A learning curve? Why are you wiping the surveillance video?
That's interesting. I'm going to pause it right there. I'll bring that second piece up after I bring them up, because that's something we're going to talk about. I'll have her explain. We're going to talk about the context of what happened. This video went viral. A lot of people were supporting her. Again, you guys, we're living in a time where the relationship with law enforcement is hypersensitive. And, there's no PR for police. Police, the law enforcement, the profession, we've gotten very comfortable with the idea of letting things happen and no one follows up. No one talks about it. No one cares to talk about it from the law enforcement side. And we let things be. We never address it. We just throw it under the bridge. And what ends up happening, people take away these experiences and they end up having a negative outlook sometimes on law enforcement because of the experience. It creates trauma. Police make mistakes, as you guys know. I've made plenty of mistakes as well, you guys, and I'll be the first one to apologize because I understood how it made people feel. The other day I was on my way somewhere and I saw a lot of police around. And I said, you know what? Now that I'm in this civilian mode now, it does. I see why people feel a little uncomfortable. It's different, you guys. It's different. And sometimes it only takes a bad experience to create a situation where trauma starts to ensue, and then it triggers you, right? To be around other police officers, to see certain things. If you never get a chance to talk about it, if you never get a chance to express how you feel about it, or if you never get closure, or when you ask questions or you're asking and reaching out to these departments and they shut you out. And it starts to look like, hold on, am I serving you or are you serving me? Right? There's a confusion here. Policing the profession has gotten away from the idea of serving the people. This is true. On this channel, we talk about the things that need to change. You guys know I'm an advocate for law enforcement. I'm also an advocate for the Black community. Two can be true at the same time. I know how I want to be treated. I know how I expect officers to treat people I care about and people I don't care about. It doesn't matter. Professionalism is always going to reign supreme, right? So you guys, without further ado, I'm going to bring up two amazing people who have a lot to offer to this conversation. And so please welcome an amazing, amazing attorney, civil attorney, Mr. Elmazi, and then also his amazing, amazing client, Miss Marie. You guys, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being here tonight and sharing this interesting, very interesting, and yet traumatic experience. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out and also the willingness to come on here and have the discussion. It's very important. And so I want you to know that I'm very grateful and very appreciative for that. My audience is very appreciative of that as well. They are 100% supportive of you guys. Trust me. So I want you guys to take an opportunity to do some introductions. So Miss Marie, you are the lady of the hour. So I'll start with you, and then Mr. Elmazi, then I'll let you do your introduction as well.
Who, me?
Yes, ladies first.
Hello, my name is Danielle Shanks. However, I go by my middle name, which is Jalea Marie. Nice to meet you all. I really appreciate you. Thank you all for your support, Mr. Daly. I really appreciate you for taking interest in my story and allowing me to come on your show.
Absolutely, absolutely. You want to tell the people your talent? You're very talented. I got a chance to snoop around on your Instagram page. I was shocked. I said, "Yo, she's actually super talented." You want to tell people what you do? Your gift is very gifted. And then tell people where they can find you on Instagram and on TikTok.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
So I am, a Jill of all trades, woman of many hats. I'm a photographer, videographer. I'm a licensed massage therapist, image consultant, social media management, professional life coach. Like, I do a lot. I do it all. Whatever you name, I promise I can do it. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at I am Jalea Marie. Also, I have a website with my photography, and that is IamJaleaMarie.com.
Excellent. Yes, you guys, her photography is A1. I was very impressed.
Thank you.
Yeah, very skilled. So Mr. Elmazi.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Nathan. And I know Miss Marie, she's often too modest about the many things she's accomplished in life, but she's also actually a veteran of the United States military. And I don't think we discussed that enough, but I think later on in our conversation, we could get a little bit more into how service members are treated by police departments sometimes. But thank you again for having us on. I'm Blerim Elmazi. I'm a civil rights attorney based in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So I'm licensed in the state of Texas, and I practice primarily in the federal courts here with a focus on wrongful death cases, excessive force, false arrest, retaliation matters, wrongful discharge, things like that, that we just group generally into civil rights matters. So thank you for having us on.
No, absolutely. No, thank you, you guys. Again, you could have been anywhere else, but you're here with me, so I appreciate that. That's interesting. You have a lot of interesting perspective on this. We're going to dive into that. And special shout out again to Miss Marie. Listen, we thank you for your service as a service member. That means a lot. So we definitely honor our patriots over here. All respect.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to go into the service, but I was like, I don't know. I don't think I'm built that way. So I settled for the law enforcement, and still I almost quit, you guys. I almost quit. I was in there. I couldn't take it. It was the academy. I had 2 Marine instructors, and they were a nightmare to deal with. You guys, I couldn't handle it. But I suffered through it. I almost quit twice. And I'm glad I stayed. I actually turned out to be a really great officer. So they say. So listen, we're gonna dive into it. You guys, the audience, you guys heard the TikTok video. Let me see if I can do this and make it more personal. Ah, there we go. Let me scoot over a little bit. All right, we can see each other now. There we go. So I played the video earlier. They saw the TikTok video. The video went viral. You got a lot of support behind that video. Can you tell us some backstory, right? Because we know a lot of times on social media, we only see a snippet of a situation. What we do know is that the emotions you were feeling were real. The trauma that you experienced and engaging with law enforcement was real. And there was something that the supervisor said that really, really triggered you. Can you give us some, we've already discussed, but can you just tell us the backstory on how everything started to give the people some context so that we can start framing this on how it got so volatile, which led to that final conversation with the supervisor.
Ooh.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
hot.
Hot seat. Don't worry.
Well, I'm not really sure where to start. There's so much that transpired. As far as the triggering words, the learning curve, after the whole situation transpired and we were in the lobby, she was explaining to my mother, the situation at hand, what happened, how it happened, why it happened. And, one of the things that she said was that it was a learning curve. And that just really triggered me because like,
It's okay. Take your time.
I'm a human being.
Right.
And that night, I didn't feel like it.
I
didn't feel like it.
Let me ask. They were. I know a little of the backstory. Let me kind of lead it into the discussion. The police were looking for. I know, a fan of that. It's all right. We here with you. You guys, listen. I'm a preface to you guys. This is going to be a difficult conversation to those who are listening. But this is going to really, really magnify why we need solutions for this problem. And there's a lot that I want to cover on this, but I want to paint the picture for you. And we know how traumatic a police experience can be, especially when the police get it wrong. And in this situation, the police were looking for a suspect, a black male, who had just committed a robbery, I believe an armed robbery. And they were pointed to a hotel room. You were traveling out of town for business, and you were at a room, and we believe that they pointed to the wrong room, and this might have been racially profiled. Mr. Elmazi, can you want to give us that, frame the setting for us, and then we're gonna talk about specifically what the traumatic experience was. Go ahead, sir.
Of course. So our understanding, and again, police departments are notoriously not very transparent after, violating someone's constitutional rights. But our understanding is that police officers were looking for a black male suspect who had allegedly either committed an armed robbery or an aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, likely waving a gun around in a convenience store that was nearby to the hotel that Jalea was staying at. Now, we don't know how these officers were eventually directed to this particular hotel. We believe there was an accomplice that may have directed them to this hotel. But our understanding is that once these officers arrived to this Super 8 hotel in Arlington, that they were greeted by a clerk there, and this clerk he first directed them to a room 205, for example. And he likely thought, well, I know of a black male who's staying in this hotel room, and decided he would point them to the room he thought this black male was staying in. And then later he tells the police, well, actually, I moved him from 205 to room 225, which, wasn't true as far as we know, because that was the room Jalea was staying in. And so the police call up room 225 looking for their male suspect. Jalea answers the phone, obviously bewildered at, why are the police calling my hotel room, and threatening me with, we're going to come in with a warrant. You better come out right now. And Jalea, obviously, taken aback and scared, grabs her things and says, okay, I'm going to leave the room and, see what's going on. And she does that. She complies with every police command. As soon as she gets out, there's several officers there pointing handguns, assault weapons, in full militarized gear there. Although looking for a male suspect, they decide Jalea is going to be their suspect for the next couple of hours. They force her to walk backwards towards them. They eventually get her on the ground, detain her, and then question her between 1 and 2 hours. Now, during that time, I believe one of the officers even admitted to Jalea, oh yeah, when I heard a female pick up the room phone, I was a little shocked. They were looking for a male suspect, and why would a female pick up the phone?
Right.
I mean, despite that, they continue to interrogate her for a couple hours. She asked to use the restroom. They deny that. She asked for some water. They deny that. She asked to make a phone call. They deny that. And they tell her, oh, you're not being detained. You're not a suspect in this thing. Don't worry. You got nothing to worry about. All the while, every indication seems to point to the fact that she is in fact being detained. And at this point, she's thinking, oh my God, am I gonna, be actually arrested and taken to the police station? They're not very clear with her what exactly is going on. And so that's essentially where we left off is, after a couple hours of questioning, she's finally released, and it becomes clear that she's not a suspect, or anyone she knows is not a suspect here.
That's very interesting, but it's not shocking. It's not surprising. I'm gonna be completely honest, you guys. I've been a part of situations where I've gotten it wrong. I went to the wrong address. I think it's not so much about the mistake as much as it is the follow-up. As much as it is about the apology, the sincerity behind it, and then also how can we rectify this situation? And I think when people are being disingenuous, when their intentions are rooted in wrong behavior, the ego prevents a lot of officers and departments from owning a mistake, just owning it. But this goes deeper. We're going to dive a little deeper. And I want to really touch on the behaviors of the officers during the encounter. So Jalea, can you talk about the behaviors, and then I'm gonna break down the tactics that the officers used to, in my opinion, unlawfully gain access to the hotel room. Listen, you guys, and Mr. Elmazi will also tell you this, that a hotel room is, by law, is just as equivalent to your home. The same rules apply. The same rules apply. You need a search warrant to get in. We've had cases where we do drug raids and things like that, and the dealers or they're trafficking women and children in the hotels. You just can't just go in there simply because it's a hotel. The rules still apply, and it can be very difficult, which is why criminals use them. So, Jalea, can you give us some backstory, or just kind of take us back to that moment of what it was like, how it went from kind of like an innocent encounter, like, hey, we're the police, to, hey, get on the ground, put your hands behind your back or do cartwheels, whatever they asked of you. Can you just kind of bring us back to that moment, and share with everybody what that experience was like?
Sure, of course. So first, it was never an innocent encounter.
Okay.
Phone call. So I was in a room.
Hmm.
I actually had just gotten out of the shower. I was with my cat. And that was another thing. They wouldn't let me get my cat. That hurt my feelings.
Your
But
cat was in the room with you.
my cat was in the room with me.
All right.
So we were in the room, and I received a phone call. And the room phone literally never rings. So I thought that was strange. I was like, let me pick up. I answered, and it was a woman. I thought it was a hotel clerk. I don't recall her announcing herself as an officer. She may have. It was, everything happened so swiftly. But she said, we're coming up. We're looking for a Chris Smith, which that's my little brother.
Okay.
She said, we're looking for a Chris Smith. We know he's in there. We have a warrant. Come out. And I was like, no, he's not. Nobody's in here. My little brother is at work. I don't know what you're talking about. She said, come out. So I said, okay. I hung up the phone. I was confused for a second. And then I heard, what is it, the bullhorn?
Hmm.
Come out now. And they said my name. So I don't know if she related back to them. But they're like, Danielle, come out now. And I was like, oh, this is real. Oh, snap. I panicked, right? And I was like, so I grabbed my purse, I grabbed my phone, I grabbed my cat. And so I went to the door, and they started flashing flashlights and everything. So I stuck my hands out like this in front of me. I stuck my hands out of the door just to assure them that I don't have any weapons or anything.
Right.
They're like, come out. So I came. I walked as slow as I possibly could because I didn't want to make no sudden movements. I'm Black. I know how it goes. So when I came out, they made me put my bag down. They told me to put my cat down, and I put it down. And they told me to come towards them. So I put my hands over my head like this, and I started walking towards them. And they was like, no, they were like, turn around, and put your hands over your head. Turn around and walk backwards. So I was like, what? Really? So I turned around, and I was so scared, like, because, like, why would you make me walk backwards? Like, why can't I walk forwards? There's nothing in my hands. I'm not a threat. Like, turn around and walk backwards. That was just giving me execution. Like,
Yeah.
That really bothered me. But I did what they said, obviously. Turn around and walk backwards toward them. One of them grabbed me, and they escorted me to the vehicle, the police vehicle. And I'm like asking questions. They weren't answering any of my questions. They kept telling me they couldn't elaborate. It's an ongoing investigation. And I'm like, well, how do you expect me to help you when you won't tell me anything? And they're just like, where's Chris Smith? Where's Chris? I'm like, he's at work. My little brother is at work. What are you accusing him of doing? Like, he didn't do anything. And they were like, we can't tell you. Just know it's serious. If we showed up like this, then obviously it's serious. And I'm like, okay, but if it's him, why are you detaining me? Why you got guns on me? Like, what? I didn't understand. Right. They assured me, oh, it's not you. We know it's not you. You're not in trouble. You're not being detained. But we need your brother. And I'm like, okay, he's at work. Call his job. I told him where he worked, what kind of car he drove. I answered all of their questions. They're telling me I'm lying. Like, no, we know he must have came on his break and then went back and I'm like, I don't even know what's going on. Like, I don't know what he could or couldn't have done. Y'all won't tell me anything. They told me I wasn't in trouble, but they made me get in the car. I was scared. I was shaking like, and I'm like, I don't want to get in the car. I don't want to get in the car. I don't have my phone. I don't have my wallet. I don't have my ID. I don't have my cat. Like, I don't want to get in the car. So one officer, well, there was good cop, bad cop. You know how it goes.
Right.
Male officer, he was Black. He was female officer, she was white. So the male officer, he was the bad cop at the time. And then the female officer, she was, playing good cop for a little while. And they were like, they had me, I didn't get fully into the car right away. I was just kind of like hanging out, like had my feet hanging out of the door because I'm like, no, don't close me in.
Right.
Please don't. But they were just asking me a bunch of questions. First, they asked me, could they search the room? And I'm like, I thought that's why I'm out here anyway. I thought you had
Correct.
a warrant. Like, that's why you called the room to tell me to come out because you had a warrant to search. So why are you asking me, can you search? And the male officer, he was just like, well, no, we didn't have a warrant. Can we search? And I'm like, well, if you didn't have a warrant and you coerced me, I was like, no, you can't search. And he's like, well, I was like, if I say yes, will you let me go? I was like, because I didn't do anything. You're saying it's not me. I'm telling you nobody's in the room. It's just me. So if I allow you to search, will you let me go? And so he was just like, you're not in trouble. You're not being detained. I was like, okay, well, search. Go, search. You see for yourself, there's nothing in there. There's no one in there. And he left and came back and he was like, oh, we can't search because you said no first. He's like, so we don't want it to seem as if we're coercing you. I'm like, you did coerce me. You coerced me out of the room in the first place by telling me you had a warrant to come search. So I was just like, that happened. It just started getting stranger and stranger. The male officer, he was getting extremely irritated with me because for some reason he just assumed I was lying. So then the female officer, she was good cop at first, but then I guess she started getting irritated. She started playing bad cop. She asked me for my name. I told her my name. She left, came back, and she was like, that's not your name, you're lying. We couldn't pull you up in the system. And I'm like, I'm not lying. I was like, my belongings are literally upstairs. My purse, my wallet. Like, can I go get my purse at least? I could. That's my name. This is my name. She's like, no, you can't go up there. You can't. It's an ongoing investigation. You can't, go up there. You're gonna tamper with the evidence. I'm like, no, I'm not. Can I make a phone call? Can I call? I said, can I call my lawyer? I don't have a lawyer.
Right.
I'm watching Law and Order. Can I call my lawyer? Like, they're like, they actually got irritated when I asked to talk to
Right.
call my lawyer, and then that's when they were trying to like, well, get in the car. I'm like, no, okay, no, please. Like, I was like, please do not put me in this car. Like,
let me pause you for 1 second. Because this is a problem that happens often in law enforcement, where people try to take advantage of a person not sure of what rights they have, and they try to leverage that against their own personal interests as officers. That creates distrust, and it also creates a sense of power, right? I want to ask Mr. Elmazi real quick, in a situation like that, can you tell the audience what is the best appropriate way to handle a situation like that when you have officers who are tethering on the line of infringing on your rights? When a person says, I need to call my lawyer, they're in so many ways invoking, hey, I'm about to lean on this Fifth Amendment real quick because I do have a right to remain silent. And I'm asking, I do have a right to an attorney. And so you start seeing officers get angry, you guys. They get frustrated because they think that you're not supposed to know that.
Right.
Do you want to speak towards that?
Sure. So the question really becomes, are you being detained? That's the standard. Are you being detained to the point where you can start invoking these rights?
Right.
Because, and unfortunately, this is such a tricky question because we've seen individuals legally assert their rights and still be shot, still be assaulted.
Yes.
And we've seen cases, so it's almost like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. I'm not saying it happens in every case, but I wish there was a blanket solution where I could say, you know what, if you just follow everything the officer says, you will be safe. But we know that not to be true because we've seen viral videos of people doing everything right and still having their rights violated at the end. But specifically in Julia's case, we had officers lying about a warrant to go into the room. And here's the thing: if they really were looking for an armed and deadly suspect or potentially deadly suspect here, Nathan, you know this, they could have went in on exigent circumstances.
Yes.
So I'm not sure if we're dealing with very rookie cops here who are just, they're sort of all over the place, right? They're not giving a clear indication. Jalea at first says, no, don't go search my room because you've been lying to me about a warrant. And then they try to coerce her into giving that consent. She gives it, and then they go up to go search the room. They're like, oh, actually, you know what? We aren't going to search it anymore. Like, that's really strange, and I've never seen it sort of play out in that way before. But you know, she was well within her rights to ask, am I being detained?
Yes.
They told her she was not, but then again, they tell her, get back in the car, as if she is being detained. They denied her access to calling a lawyer. You know, she could have looked up a lawyer to call real quick if she wanted to. Denied her access to her phone, water, using the restroom. And Nathan, you know this, that this is classic interrogation right there.
Yes.
And coercive interrogation at that. And so there was a lot of back and forth really in my mind about, did the officers really believe they were not detaining her, or what was going on? So it's a very unusual circumstance for her. I do believe she was being detained. I do believe she was being coerced into doing things. And just to set the record straight about her brother, he had nothing to do with whatever went on in that convenience store. I literally think that they asked the clerk, hey, we're looking for a black male suspect. And he pulled up a list and said, oh, there's a Chris here who's a black male who happens to be Julia's brother. And they said, okay, that's our suspect. Ooh. Right? I mean, because there's no basis in fact. Right. I mean, her brother happened to be in the same hotel, but he was working the entire time. But you know, that wasn't enough for them. That was very shoddy police work. And I actually want to get back to one of the things Julia said when she's exiting that hotel room and all the guns are being pointed at her, and she starts walking towards the police with her hands up. And they shout at her, stop right there, you know, turn around backwards and walk towards us. And Jalea, I think, realizes now how deadly that situation could have gone with one little misstep there.
Yes.
You know, and I can't remember the gentleman's name, but in Arizona, about probably 6-7 years ago now, in a hotel room as well, yes, there was an individual who inappropriately walked towards the police.
He was in a prone position. He was on the ground crawling,
begging them, don't shoot, don't shoot. And he was crawling, and he sort of leaned down, and they killed him. You know, that was one of the most egregious executions I've ever seen. And, you know, God forbid something like that could have happened to Julia. Yes. Really. And, you know, I've sued Arlington police before. I know how this department operates. They have a history and a custom and practice of violating people's rights and then sweeping it under the rug. One of the things we haven't discussed just yet is, you know, after they detain her for a couple hours, they, you know, and they say it's a learning curve. They say, oh, here's our victim services card. You know, take it, give us a call, and we'll help hook you up with some therapy and counseling. And I think that was their sort of last ditch effort of showing some goodwill. And, you know, a couple of days later, she calls that number to take them up on that. And of course they reject it and now want nothing to do with
her. Jalea, if you need to take a moment, you know, don't hesitate. If you...
Yes, I do. I left
yes,
my petition.
Go ahead. You're right. Go ahead. You could. You guys, this is deep. This is deep. We're going to talk about the power of a person's complexion, the power of image, and how your image could put you in a situation where someone doesn't give you the benefit of the doubt. Whether the person looking at you is black, white, Hispanic, or Asian, doesn't matter. Perception is the problem. Stereotyping is the problem, you guys, in law enforcement. There's an idea that if your skin is a certain color, then there's a propensity that you're committing this type of crime or that type of crime. It's profiling. It is an issue. I would challenge anybody, any officer that says they never stereotype or profiled someone before. It's a lie. It's a lie, you guys. And one of the things we're going to talk to Jalea about when she gets back is that there were plenty of Black officers present. And this is one of the things that I always like to share on this channel. It's not a black or white thing. You know, we can't always fixate on racism because there are Black people present. This is a mentality issue. This is an ego issue. And not to say that racism is not a problem or it doesn't exist in law enforcement. I'm saying there's a couple of different problems that equally need to be addressed. They need to be addressed. And you see her emotions in it. This is real. You guys, when people go through an experience like this, and it's a negative experience with law enforcement, and they're treated like animals, they're treated like they're less than human. They're treated like someone that they don't, that's discardable, that they don't care about. That's a problem. Officers, you know, we sometimes, a lot of us start off good, we end good. Some of us start good, we end bad. Some of us, we lose ourselves in the process. What do I see? I see people who they get so caught up in the job over time that they end up becoming so desensitized. They lose a sense of humanity when they're dealing with people. They start to isolate themselves from society. They start to feel like they are above the people that they're serving. You guys, that's the problem. And it's a real issue. You know, it is hard. You talk about men and women who do a job where they are dealing with sometimes the worst parts of society, but there is no therapy for those officers. They go right back out the next day and do it again, and they do it again, and they do it again. From shootings to homicides to violence to all types of offenses, and they don't get the proper healing. And what does that do to the human mind? You guys, so there's a real issue, not justifying the behavior, but there's a reason why officers start to alienate themselves and separate themselves, segregate themselves from the people they're supposed to be serving. It's a problem. A couple things I want to talk about. The exigent circumstance piece. You know, as officers, we do, you know, when we're trying to save a life or we witness, we have reason to believe, right? The law gives us a little latitude going into rooms or homes without warrants, doing warrantless searches. There's a little bit of latitude, but a lot of things need to line up. And they did not have enough for exigent circumstance. The window, the time frame was too wide. They just did not have enough. They lied their way into that apartment. Into the hotel room. And they took advantage of your innocence. They took advantage of your kindness. They took advantage of your willingness to want to cooperate because you didn't want any problems. That's coercion. You know, that's a form of coercion. And officers, we know it, we understand it. And that could have been, they could have got the same results out of you by just being respectful, by being considerate. They would have, and this is the problem I have with a lot of officers, their inability to critically think in the moment. This woman is not giving you any problems. She's very cooperative. Was that necessary? And it all comes down, just because you can do something doesn't mean you're supposed to do something. This is the issue. You know, we have a lot of people in this profession that aren't qualified to wield the power that was given to them. And, you know, and this is why we have these conversations, you guys. This was a very important conversation I felt like needed to be had. And, you know, I want to play a quick video from one of your TikTok videos, Jalea. And this is what gravitated me to your story. And also, I commend you because it said a lot about the beauty behind your personality and your character. It really spoke volumes to me. I could tell you're a person who really cares about people. You're honest and you're just very upfront and you just like to keep it real. And I'm gonna play this video real quick. Let me see. I think it's this one. All right, let me maneuver this thing around. I think it's like that. And then, all right, you guys. So listen, if you guys are just getting in and you're watching, please hit the like button if you're in here. If you're new here for the first time, please subscribe. As you guys know, I'm trying to get to 10,000 from before my mom's birthday, which is May 9th. So shout out to the moms. She raised a great young man, right? And shout out to my dad as well. He did some work. He did a little piece. All right, let's play this video. I think it's this one.
I don't want to make this a race war. I don't want to make this. That is my emotional crutch right there. Thank you. I love.
You are so soft spoken. All right, let's see. Very very smooth, very smooth. Let me see if we can. Let me see if I can raise the volume a little bit. Very pleasant voice, very pleasant. All right, here we go.
I don't want to make this a race war. I don't think it was a black issue as much as it was a blue issue, because there were several black officers that were on the scene as well, and they were just as bad, if not worse. I didn't ask for this fate, okay? It was given to me. I love everyone. I love all of you. Black, white, blue, civilian, police officer. That being said, let's have compassion for one another. And if you're gonna argue in my comments, do it respectfully, please. Thank you.
I thought that was a very powerful statement. It was very powerful. And you said, you know, you don't think this is just this moment, your interaction wasn't just about a race thing within itself. This was a blue thing. And I really admire that statement. And again, this is not to say that race issues don't exist in law enforcement, but in this moment, we're looking at a situation where there was representation there, and no one who looked like you stood up and spoke out against the treatment. That's a problem. That's a problem. And, you know, I have an issue with that. I've seen that before while working. I tell people all the time, unfortunately, I've seen black officers mistreat black people worse than some white officers. Make it make sense. And it's not anything to be proud about, right? I don't say that with pride. I'm not saying it to defend any race, any ethnic group or whatever. I'm talking about the reality of it. Because if you don't understand the reality of it, you can't imagine what a solution should be. And I was very moved by that statement. I was also very moved by the idea. You said, listen, I love everybody. This isn't me trying to blame or whatever. I'm telling you, this experience was a bad one. It didn't have to happen. And here's the reality. Here's what happened. So I wanted to play that clip. I thought that was very important. Can you share with us? Because one thing you said it made you feel like you weren't human. And you guys, I think that is such a powerful statement. And we see all these situations when people have bad outcomes with officers. No one ever talks to them and say, what was the experience like? In that moment, I know you were saying guns were pointed at you and there was a fear of this could end in an accidental shooting. I could truly be hurt behind this. What else was going through your head after this piece was over and things started to kind of settle down? What were your thoughts just in the moment?
In the moment, my thoughts, there were so many, my goodness. There were a few that were, constant, they were consistent. One was obviously my life, because there was a time where it seemed as if they were going to try and like frame me or try to frame me. It was just really strange, the way some of the things they were saying, the way that they were handling the situation. Another thought was my brother, his life, and his well-being. Had he been there,
right,
the outcome have been different. When they do get to him, what's going to happen? How are they going to treat? If they're treating me like this, and they think they're looking for my brother, how are they going to treat him? So that Sandra Bland, Breonna Taylor, they all came to mind when I was in. They finally, so the lady officer, she just got a little irritated. I guess she wanted to go help her colleagues. So when she asked me my name, I told her my name. She told me I was lying. She was like, "You want to sit here and lie to me?" She said, "You know I could." She said, "If I want to, I could put you in the car." And I was like, "I know, I know, I know." And after so long, she went ahead and put me in the car, and closed the door, and that's when like all those recurring thoughts kept going through my mind. And the only thing that I knew, I even asked for my cat. I said, "Can I have my cat at least? A little emotional support." Like they stripped me of everything. Like
Yeah.
they stripped me of everything down to my rights, and it was hard. Um, so when they went ahead and put me in the car and closed the door, the only thing I knew to do was meditate. So I just sat, I crossed my legs, closed my eyes, and I just meditated until they transferred me from a car to a truck. But mainly what was going through my head was my life, whether or not I was going to jail, whether or not I was going to be framed for something, my brother's life, and then the lives of, the soldiers that we have lost. And it just really brought into perspective after the whole situation was over, and I really had time to, which was like 2, 3 days later, and I really had time to think about it and process it. I broke down because when I think about the lives that were lost, it's like, dang, they were just learning curves to y'all.
Mm.
That's just so unfortunate.
No, and you guys watching, please go and support. Please go and support Jalea. She has a GoFundMe. Please go check her GoFundMe out. Please help and support you guys. I talk about it all the time on my channel about if you see a cause, if you see someone speaking out against something that needs to be changed, please get behind it. It's the same thing I ask that you guys do for me, is get behind what I'm doing because it's important. It needs to be talked about, it needs to be discussed. And the only way these things change is if we change them. It's on us to do it. Um, and shout out to Lisa. Stay strong, Queen. She is. She's strong. She's strong. There's a strong sister right here. And her voice matters. Her story matters. And it's so important to tell this story because I myself never understood after I've left scenes. This isn't something that's trained, right? This is something that should be taught to us in the academy. Hey, when you make an honest mistake or you make a mistake, or your presence alone, your presence there, it frightens people. And there needs to be a follow-up to that. Hey, we kicked your door. Hey, we did this. We apologize. Can we sit down? Can we talk about it? There needs to be a follow-up. Again, our job is to examine where the areas, where the holes are in this profession and plug them. Professionalism is a thing. We're missing that, a lot of that. So please go and support her. GoFundMe link is in the description, you guys. No amount is too little of an amount. So please support that as well. I really appreciate you for doing that. And moderators, please continue to drop that link in the chat as well. I want to go over the situation in regards to officers interviewing people who aren't free to go and are free to go. There's a difference. And the court tells us that if a person perceives that they are under arrest, then they are in fact under arrest. If the court says if the citizen believes that they're not free to go, they're not free to go. And so as officers, I was taught very well. And my department taught us very well. And I did my own studying because I didn't want to make mistakes. Sometimes if you have too many officers surrounding a person, that person can feel like they're not free to go. Your tone when you address people, that person can feel like they're not free to go. By your tone as an officer, the way I stand, my presence can make a person feel, my demeanor can make a person feel that they're not free to go. And I absolutely believe that you were detained. Just from your story, you're absolutely detained against your will. That's my professional opinion as an officer, because I understand how powerful that uniform is and what it looks like when a person's under duress, you know? And so all those officers, all those cop cars around, yeah, if you decide to walk away from them, it would have probably been a problem.
I thought about it. I thought about running.
You thought about running?
No,
Thank
'cause-
God.
listen,
You and the
I
cat.
thought about running. Huh?
You and the cat.
I really thought about running. I didn't know what else to do because they kept telling me that I wasn't in trouble, but they wouldn't let me go and they wouldn't
Right.
give me any answers. And I was just like, okay, I'm finna run. But I was like, that's not smart either. It was
Correct.
a lose-lose situation. It was like
Yes.
pick your poison, basically.
It's the fear. It's the fear, you know, and you know, I have a show coming up tomorrow about this, the power of fear. The fear can make you respond in a way that's not in your best interest. But then it's like, where did the fear come from? You put the fear on me, right? You put the fear. They could have handled this. They could have been very pleasant. There was no need, right? Again, was their behavior reasonable? And the answer is no, it wasn't. You know, and so that's the thing with the interview. Let me ask you, Mr. Elmazi, how do you feel like they should have approached this situation from a legal standpoint, as far as them doing things by the book as they're supposed to do? How should this have been? Say they actually had, they are investigating, which they have a right to investigate. But what should have been the appropriate protocol that would have sufficed legally, in your opinion?
Right. And really, to give the best answer I could possibly give on that would require us knowing what all did happen. And unfortunately, we don't know how they really ended up in Jalia's room, right? We don't know what the clerk told them. We don't know what they told the clerk. But based on what little we do know, something as simple as checking the hotel log, someone somewhere screwed up. We know that. Whether it was the hotel clerk or the police or a combination of both of them, somehow led them to a hotel that they really had no business being in. But having said that, we understand police have the right and the duty really to investigate certain crime. We're not trying to downplay the seriousness of someone waving a gun around in a convenience store. What we are trying to say is, what does proper policing and a proper investigation look like? Right. And that does not mean lying to someone who clearly you know is not the suspect based on the tone of their voice. And they later admitted, yeah, we knew you weren't the suspect, but yet we had our guns pointed at you and we still detained you for a couple hours. A more humane approach to this probably could have really just dispelled with this entire thing and avoided 2 hours of work on the part of the police. But you know, that's too much to ask for. Apparently, is humane policing in Arlington, Texas. And so I'm rarely in the position to tell police how best to do their job, because I'm normally just criticizing them for the jobs they already do. And so I don't necessarily want to give them tips and pointers sometimes.
Understood. You know what's funny is the fight needs to happen on all battlegrounds, right? There's so many different angles to attack this issue, which leads us to this main conversation in general about transparency. This is one of the biggest issues that we have in law enforcement. And you guys, yes, I'm an advocate for the police. Of course, when they do their job right, there's a lot of officers that do a great job. I don't want us to get it confused. Unfortunately, there are some units, there's some groups, there's some officers, there's some departments that do not. And they make it very, very hard for people to get transparency, to get the truth. And we want to dive into that. Mr. Elmazi, can you give us some your experience dealing with police departments and the difficulty of getting or just getting information needed for your case? Now, obviously, you're the bad guy because you're here to sue them. And so You know, I'm a firm believer. If you didn't do anything wrong, you have nothing to hide. I've always lived my life like that. And so I'm big on transparency. It means nothing to me. You can go open my records. By all means, I'll tell you before you get there what you're looking for. But when you have something to hide, and I've noticed some departments do it, even when they don't have anything to hide, they do it simply because it's a power move, right? It's like I can actually make it difficult for you just because I can.
Right.
And to me, again, there lies the problems. Again, citizens are saying, here's the issues we have with you guys. We're telling you, and you don't care. You don't care. Can you give us some background on that?
Right. And I'll tell you, one of the first things we do, my office does anytime we take a civil rights case involving police officers, is we submit an Open Records Act request. Now, the term varies state to state. In Texas, we refer to it as an Open Records Act request, or a Public Information Act request, or FOIA is how it is at the federal level. And this is a simple request to a government entity saying, hey, we want some public information that we have the right to have. And a lot of times we're just looking for very basic information, like an officer's name, right? I've had cases where, you know, a young man or young woman is killed by the police and we don't even know the name of the officer who killed them. We don't know how many officers were there. And obviously to file a lawsuit, you want that information. You want to know what is the background of these officers. We ask for things like their disciplinary file, how long have they been on the police force, things like that. And, you know, I understand if a city or a police department is hesitant to give that information. The fact of the matter is they're going to give it eventually once you file a lawsuit, and if you're fortunate enough to get to that point in a lawsuit. And that's a whole nother battle. But it's a battle just to even get to the point to even begin writing that lawsuit. And what we find is that very basic requests like, hey, give us the incident report or give us the officer narrative here.
Right.
You know, I make that request on behalf of my law firm for a client. And unfortunately, every time I send anything to City of Arlington or any other city in Texas, they immediately say, oh, there's a law firm asking for information. We must be getting sued. So we're going to deny everything. Okay. And I was talking with Julia about this the other day, and she was like, well, maybe I should put in my own personal request too. And I was like, you might as well, but they're going to deny you too. But let's, and I can talk about this openly because we've got 2 or 3 requests in right now. And if I thought this conversation would somehow hinder our ability to get those records, I wouldn't be speaking about it. But I can tell you what they're going to tell us already. And that's they're going to deny us. And not only do they deny you, some cities like in Arlington, they deny your request. And then they tell you, oh, you have to submit a second request. And basically we'll deny that one. And then the Texas Attorney General can decide whether we should be allowed to withhold these records from you. So they make you jump through a couple of unnecessary hoops. And really, I'd appreciate more if they just denied us and the entire government denied us, so I know where I stand. But, you know, they drag this process out and we sort of know how it's going to end up. I've had cases where they submit a police report or an incident report and literally the entire thing is redacted, like every little line in there. I'm like, what's the point of even sending me this document other than to piss me off, you know?
Right.
And maybe sometimes that's, you know, enough for them. And so getting access to this information is not easy. We fortunately have Julia around to tell us what happened, but can you imagine what happens in cases? I've had cases where officers don't have body cameras, there's no dash cameras, and there's no witnesses. And how am I supposed to come up? And, you know, I have a grieving family here telling me that their son was killed by the police. And so how are you supposed to know what happened, and how are you supposed to hold anyone accountable if these government entities that are required to give you this information,
yes, they are,
instead withhold it and hide behind certain exceptions?
Whew. You know, I'm here in Georgia. We have a law that requires agencies you know, they have a couple of days, a minimum, depending on how much. They have to give you a reasonable amount of time that it's going to require them to come up with the information needed in the request. And they can't play around the law. It's like the law, it's state law. They can't do it. They can't play around like that, you know. And this is why I say every police department is not created equal. You have some departments that are very transparent. They're very straightforward. They don't play the games. And you have some departments that do try to shield and protect their officers. Some that are like, oh, this is that attorney again. Yeah, make it, stretch it out, make it difficult for them. You know, make them run for it. And then you get it, and then there's nothing even in there that you can even use for your case because nothing really per se maybe happened or anything like that. But they do these things because they want to They want to kind of ride this out. They want to starve the client's pocket. You know, they want to make the attorney work for it. So then it's like, hey, I got to bill you more hours because it's taking this long. It's sad.
Right. And I will say, anytime I actually receive some information I'm looking for, one of the first thoughts that pops in my head is, okay, this might mean trouble for us. They're actually giving us information we're requesting. I'm like, well, what happened? What did my client do wrong? Right.
Correct.
But you know, some cities, and you know, I actually applaud the city of Dallas. Right now, I have an office in Arlington and an office in Dallas. I'm in Arlington right now, but in Dallas, they've adopted a new policy where they will release body camera footage and I forget if it's in all death cases involving police officers or any sort of excessive force case involving police officers. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to give you a copy of the video, but you can come in and watch that. And so, you know, that's a level of transparency that I wish, you know, every department could do. But, you know, I really do applaud cities that do that, like in Dallas. And it's really what I hope to be a futuristic model of transparency and, you know, sort of letting people know that, look, we're not trying to sabotage you. We're not trying to just pin up roadblocks every step of the way. Here's the video. If we need to be held accountable, it's going to happen whether you guys see this video or not, one way or another. So come in and at least appreciate the transparency.
Correct. I don't disagree at all. And by them doing that, it actually helps the relationship. I'm all for what's going to help repair the relationship. And when you have these administrators who are trying to shield officers from their stupid decisions or their poor choices or their poor training, it only exacerbates the problem. And here we are, you know, and it's unfair and it's not right. And that's just the reality at the end of the day, because again, when you're going and asking for this information, you have a right to that information. The fact that we still have police departments that don't have body cameras is completely beyond me. I would be afraid to police without a body camera, you know, because of the allegations, because, you know, we do have citizens that lie on officers. It protects both sides. It gets an honest account, the best that it can from a view that you get to see. It keeps everybody honest. You know, I've had people lie on me about 3 good times with the body camera and it didn't go anywhere, you know. And like you said, we have a policy where the citizen comes in and views it. They watch it with the supervisor. And guess what? They're like, yeah, we're dismissing this off of false whatever. I've had cases where people have made a false allegation against me. And the Internal Affairs Department they refused to prosecute that person for making a false statement, saying they didn't want to discourage them or discourage citizens from coming out here and speaking their piece. Well, if I wasn't able to prove my case, I would have been punished,
right.
You know. But you know, people come out here and they're saying, hey, here's my experience with the police, and I want someone to look at it. We need citizen review boards. I believe every department needs to have one where you can honestly go in and have a citizen overlook your situation. Right? There needs to be oversight, to be completely honest with you, because a lot of departments have been operating with impunity and no one can say anything to them. Right. And that is one of our biggest issues right now. How do you hold the people with the power accountable? They get to discipline themselves. Could you imagine?
And Nathan, let me, you know, put a bow on this, because you mentioned civilian review boards, and I'm all in favor for those as well, especially ones that have some sort of tangible power. What we see, especially in Texas, is some cities develop civilian review boards, or a different name for them, that are very weak, and they sort of,
fizzle out.
It's a rubber stamp, really. But in Arlington, last election cycle, I was actually advocating for a proposition for a civilian review board. And I worked with national organizers, including Sean King, Grassroots Law Project, to get this civilian review board in Arlington. And this was, during the 2020 election, to get a referendum to voters to approve it. But not only that, we wanted a board that had power, and a power to actually get police documents, to review body cameras.
Yes.
Even subpoena officers. I mean, we were really trying to develop the most powerful board in the United States right here in Arlington. And we couldn't even get enough signatures to get that in front of voters. And so, I mean, and I haven't recently just had the time and energy to recommit to that. But, that is something I think every large city at least deserves to have, is a board that has some kind of power.
Subpoena power specifically. Right. Absolutely. And it keeps everybody honest. If officers know that, people in position of power know that, it's self-correcting. It's self-correcting. We pander in this country, we pander to law enforcement so much. The fact that they don't correct themselves because they know people are going to coddle them. We have too many officers that get coddled for making mistakes. Oh, I was in fear and what? There was no weapon,
right.
And so you're not confident in your hands. I was in the academy with officers who couldn't take a punch. They're getting knocked out. Grown men who've never been in a fist fight before. And you want to come out here and wave authority around, and you can't squabble, right? You're getting mollywopped up and down the street by regular people, right? So this is a problem. If you're a law enforcer, how do you expect to create peace and protect people when you can't do it without the use of a gun?
Right.
And so there's so much that needs to be addressed, and we have not had the right people speak on this, because people are championing the wrong solutions, things that don't matter. This right here, transparency, getting access to information, this is important. This is important. And I support it. I support it. And if you guys ever need me to come say a couple of things, hey, I'm always down to keep it real, right? Because again, by fixing this, we also fix the relationship. And that's here's my thing when it comes to reform, Mr. Elmazi. I'm gonna be very transparent with you. No reform should be off the table unless it puts the officer in harm's way, unless it puts the officer's job or that officer at risk or in danger. Anything outside of that should be a green light, a smooth green light. Okay. That's the only time you'll ever hear me. Nah, I think that might be a little unsafe. Nah, I think that compromises the officers, this or that, or privacy or something. Other than that, we work for y'all. Right? Where do we go? Where do we get this thing twisted? I don't know. I haven't studied the history that well enough to know where this thing got shifted.
My experience, at least within Arlington and in Dallas, really, is the power of police unions and the effect they have on any sort of reform. These are private organizations, many of which have millions of dollars to spend, and they endorse candidates. They spend money on elections, but through it all, they will defend their officers, up until trial, up until conviction, up until appeal.
Yes.
In rare cases where an officer is actually prosecuted for, a murder or something like that. And so I really see them as a problem. And I think until we can sort of reduce the power of police unions in America, getting any sort of reform on the table is going to be, a hell of a task.
Yeah. And I always say this, the power lies with people and the numbers. And that's where the key is. And the problem is we've coddled officers too much. We pander to them. And we give them too many, we allow them to make too many excuses. We allow them to make way too many excuses. And when you do that, there's no desire to be better. That's the problem with pandering. When you pander to someone, there's no desire for them to excel where they currently are, right? Society has an expectation way up here and we're operating way below it. It just is what it is.
Right.
And so it just comes down to, we either tell the people that we can rise to the occasion, or we let them know that we cannot. And that way people need to manage their expectations. So, in closing though, I want to ask you guys about some solutions, because I'm solution based, and I love to stab at issues, and then I love to sew them up. So I want to, Jalea, I want to ask you, when it comes to, I want to ask you, in your soft, elegant voice that you have, very peaceful voice, words, people don't understand the power of a person's words and their voice. Again, your voice moved me, and it motivated me and inspired me even a little bit more to what I'm doing, to hear what you said. I always tell people, sometimes we think our voice doesn't matter, or that sometimes we say things, we never know who's listening. And someone pointed me into your direction, and then I heard what you said on TikTok, and I was like, oh yeah, this is what it's about right here. And it sparked a new thing right in me. And I'm so blessed, I'm so grateful that you took the opportunity, both of you guys took the opportunity to come speak with us and share your story. Know that I'm taking your story and I'm tattooing it on my cause, right? And it's something I'm going to wear with me as I pursue this endeavor, this massive undertaking. Even I know that the efforts I make, sometimes it might only be a seed that I'm planting for someone else to water, and sometimes that's all it takes. So with that though, what are your thoughts on a solution? We talked about the comment that the supervisor made. She said, oh, she kind of dismissed it, right? It was so dismissive. Oh, it's just a learning situation, learning curve, something us to learn from, and just not really not showing any empathy. She was very lackadaisical standing up. She was looking at you just kind of like, I mean, shit happens, right? And it's like, no, that's the wrong attitude. And if you were connected to the community you're serving, you would know that it's not, hey, this happens. It's, I'm so sorry this happened to you. Where did we go wrong? Who did it? Let me address it right here. You know what I mean? Like just a genuine interest. Where do you, and your thoughts and your ideas, what do you think the solution is, or just a solution, or one of many that are needed, just overall to this police issue that we have in this country? Oh, hold on. You're muted. Okay, there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Check 1, 2. Okay.
1, 2, 1, 2.
I think with the police force, one of the things that they can do. Okay, so with them, right? This is how I see it, because I was in the military. I went through basic training, and it's all about coercion. It's all about intimidation. It's all about power. It's a power struggle. But what a lot of people don't understand is that real power is gentle. Real power is kind. Real power is patient. Real power is compassionate. Real power is empathetic. And I feel like for them, it was more so, they knew I wasn't the suspect. They knew I had nothing to do, but they were not looking for me. They knew that. It was just the fact that they had the power to bully me. So that's what they chose to do. Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't know, they were on some kind of cop high. It was so strange. But I just think we just need to be more compassionate. And as far as like the police force, instead of only teaching them how to escalate, we need to learn to de-escalate. We need to learn to, I feel like they need to implement more mindfulness practices or something. They seem to be on edge. Like, I can't explain it. The whole situation was so surreal. Like, and it's as if they were feeding off my fear. Like, they were feeding off my energy, and it just kind of caused them to just turn up on me for no reason. And they didn't have to. They didn't have to do that. But compassion and empathy, I feel like that's what we really need as a whole. Especially with, let's say, the internet. I've been getting and seeing a lot of comments that my GoFundMe, I'm scamming, or one comment said, "Oh, welcome to your first experience as a black man. Are you finally fully experienced, the experience of a black man?" And my thing is, look at me, look at my skin color. I'm from Mississippi. This is not my first experience. This is just the first one I was able to get on camera. So we need to be a bit more compassionate, a bit more empathetic, and understand that, for y'all, it's entertainment. For me, this is my life. I have to live with this every day. I still haven't gotten therapy. It's still hard sleeping. Anytime I go out, even to get food, if I see an officer, I'm panicking. If I see a police car driving by, which being black, I was already on edge when it comes to law enforcement, but now it's just like to the extreme. And I just want people to understand that I'm human. And I want those officers to understand that, just like you're human, so am I. And there was no reason for them to treat me any less than, especially considering the circumstances, them knowing that I wasn't a threat. It didn't have to go that way, and it did.
Thank you. If you guys only knew how much I despise this type of behavior from officers. I know sometimes you guys, you see me smiling and, we're talking about difficult issues and things of that nature. I despise it. I've told you I've checked officers on the scene. I've checked supervisors. I just don't. I love people. And when you have a humanitarian heart and you see people being mistreated, you're triggered by it. You guys, I'm retired. I didn't have to come up here and start a channel and try to speak on these issues. This stuff bothers me. It really bothers me. And, it's one thing I tell people all the time. It takes bravery to put this uniform on. It takes courage to do the job. We just have some people in this profession who just don't need to be doing it. It's just that simple. This thing transcends color. We're talking about people's mentality. We're talking about people's heart. It's tough. And we already have, as Black people, we already have to bypass the first stigma, which is our skin color. And then after that, we have to deal with whatever else the assumptions are being made on officers. This is the reality. Thank you so much, Jalea, for, strong sister right there. Some of y'all, listen, I see some of y'all fellas be acting up when you get in the back seat. She stood strong. She stood strong. Mr. Elmazi, what are your thoughts on solutions? I know you touched on a little bit of it.
Yeah. How much time do we have? Because we can talk about solutions.
I mean, listen, you guys are my guests. I don't want to hold y'all up. Y'all are free to stay as long as you want, but I definitely want to make sure because when we're done, I'm taking this tie off, and me and my folks are gonna get in. We're gonna be dragging and slamming, and we have very deep, powerful conversations over here. We don't censor thought. I let my people speak because it's very important that they express their frustrations, and I'm here to take it. I'm here to receive it. I'm here to help them, guide them through it so we can get to the idea of solutions. Like you said earlier, one of the most powerful things you said is, hey, we need more signatures. I'm living proof that I'm here to try to bring something different. We have some officers on YouTube. We got one in particular. He got over like 2 million followers, and he talks about nothing. He talks about nothing. And he coddles officers and their poor choices. He justifies things that are absolutely ridiculous.
Right.
And again, it's a business and it's a hustle for some people. This is not a hustle for me. You know, it's not a hustle. It's a real thing. People can look me up. You know, you can pull my record. My stuff's all the way clean and legit. You know, and I've arrested the worst of them. Shout out to E Mega. Listen, we don't want to say no names, but you know, I keep it real.
Yeah, well, we certainly do appreciate your voice in the conversation. And when you and I first met and talked, you know, we discussed a bit about that missing perspective, really, right? On someone with a law enforcement background, just keeping it real.
Yep.
And so, you know, just by virtue of having us on, I think that shows a lot and shows really some hope in the future about, you know, it's a conversation now, but can this conversation translate to solutions down the line?
Correct.
And really, I see it in two different approaches. And one I'll say is like the humanity approach to this thing. And Julia talked extensively about that. And I think there needs to be a need of shifting back to community policing, if such a thing ever really existed in American policing. But community policing, and we've seen some cities really not necessarily toy with it, but begin to experiment with that. Now, I remember, you know, before George Floyd was killed in Minnesota, you know, a lot of the talking point in police reform circles was, look at what Camden, New Jersey did when they disbanded their police department and made it much more community focused.
Yes.
There's other cities around the country that required officers to, within days of being enlisted in a department, to go knock on all the neighborhood doors and introduce themselves and give a business card.
Yeah.
I think little things like that certainly do matter. And, you know, I think that would be the ideal future of policing, to where people knew they could count on police for help, rather than, you know, I've had clients who've been scared to contact the police because, you know, I've had cases where, you know, a mother or a sibling's on the phone with police saying, hey, my brother or my son is not a danger. I'm calling you because I need help, but he has no gun, nothing. Just please send someone to help. And next thing you know, they end up killed. And so it's a horror story. And some people are asking, this is a scary time when people are asking, if I'm in need of help, should I be calling the police?
Right.
And that's a terrible, terrible decision to have to make, right? And so I hope this idea of community policing gets developed in a way that makes people feel comfortable around police again. And you know, having said that, there's a whole nother legal side to what does a solution to this look like. And I will say, as a civil rights attorney, I bring lawsuits on behalf of clients. It's true. These lawsuits can change policies and procedures within a department. They have financial recoveries if you're successful. But there seems to be a prevailing view that suing the police, oh, you're going to become rich and your client's going to become rich. And I can tell you from experience, I promise you, if you want to be a rich lawyer, civil rights law is not the place to go, because you are fighting a system dealing with immunity and dealing with city liability issues that, you know, I could write a college course on that make it almost impossible to succeed. And Julia and I have discussed this successfully. And a lot of the times it's not about evaluating whether you're going to win money in a lawsuit. It's about you had the courage to come out, now put it in our hands and let's have the courage to fight it in court. Even if we think it's a losing battle, it's worth having that battle because, you know, you want the laws to change and you don't want to let people off scot-free. We saw this in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s in the civil rights movement, of civil rights lawyers filing litigation, knowing that the law was not on their side, but slowly it evolves to a point to where you see some success. And it's all about not letting people off the hook, right? I've been involved in cases where we have literally bankrupted police departments to the point that they've had to disband their police departments. I've been in cases where a lot of the larger municipalities have insurance companies that pay out settlements for police officers. And they tell the departments, hey, we are getting sued so much because you guys are abusing people that we are either going to drop you or we will significantly increase your insurance rates.
Yep.
And let me tell you, that has such a real impact. And I dealt recently with the case where had it not been for the large amount of lawsuits filed against this department, that department would still be out there violating people's rights. It involved bringing a TV show to film these officers like cops, but it was called Live PD. And so it was the most egregious police department I've ever seen. And it all really comes down to money, right? Money talks, and it definitely makes an impact on these departments, because once your insurance company drops you and then you get sued for a wrongful death and you got to pay out $1 million, whose pocket is that coming out of, right? It's coming out of a taxpayer's pocket now. And you're damn sure things are going to change once taxpayers are footing that bill.
Yep.
And so, I'm grateful for people like Julia who film their interactions and want to do something about it. She didn't hire a lawyer, wanting to get rich.
Right.
Right. But she wants to hold someone accountable. And sometimes accountability can be as simple as serving someone with a lawsuit and forcing them to come to court. Because right now they're not going to respond to Julia. They rejected her counseling, and they never want to talk to Julia. They never want to admit to their mistake. But if and when we file a lawsuit, they're going to be legally bound to answer it and to defend their actions. And, we give them hell at that point. And so that's really the goal here, is to make sure we can hold these people accountable one way or another.
I like it. I support it. And if you ever need a voice from an experienced officer, you guys know I have 13 years in this business. I'm more than happy to break down any body cam footage. I can point out what should have or should not have been done. I don't mind giving my expertise and consulting in that, and without any cost. Again, this isn't about, like you said, this is not about trying to make any money off anything. So I'm publicly making that statement. I want to be able to help as much as I can if possible. So don't hesitate to reach out. Absolutely. And so you guys, in this conversation, please check out Julia's GoFundMe to help her cause, support what she's doing. I think it's a beautiful cause. It's very important. She's been through a lot, but we are here for you. People on my side, we support you 100%. And we are so sorry. I'm sorry that you had to go through that and deal with that. It is traumatic. I say, in my nonprofit that I have for law enforcement officers, I said the objective is to turn tragedy into triumph. And I feel like that's exactly what you're doing. When you're stepping out and you're speaking out, you're using something tragic and you're remolding it into something beautiful. And that's the best way to look at it. That's how I looked at my accident, because I struggled with some depression. I had a little depression thing going on. Thank you, Gail. Gail's checking that she supported your GoFundMe, you guys. Please go and support. Thank you guys so much for showing that love. She definitely appreciates it. That smile on her face, she can't hold it back. Thank you guys so much for that. Turning tragedy into triumph. That's my theme. And I use that concept to get out of the depression that I was in, getting out of the issue that I had after my accident. So I know how you feel. Traumatic, trauma's trauma, and but you're tough. I see it. You're a tough one. So you guys, I just want to say thank you so much again for just taking the moment to share your story. I know it was a very emotional one, and I appreciate you sticking through it. That was dope. Yeah. And again, I'm always here for you guys. If you ever need anything, if you ever want to come up again and have any conversations, I'm always here. Mr. Elmazi, they've been dropping your information in the chat as well. They can also find you if you want to just tell them verbally how they can reach you if they have. I know you're out in Texas. You're out there practicing in Texas, but if anyone has any questions or anything like that, how can they reach out to you?
Yeah, so best way is either I saw someone dropped my email in the chat. You can go to elmazilaw.com. That's ELMAZI law.com. There's a way to contact me on there, or you send me a message on Instagram or email. You know, although I'm not licensed in Georgia or any other state right now, civil rights law is a federal issue. So, you know, as long as I can connect with the local attorney somewhere, we are able to bring civil rights claims and you know, enter on your behalf once we do certain conditions. So, you know, if anyone has any issues, we'd be more than happy to speak with them.
Excellent. Any final closing statements? I'll be up a little bit longer. If you guys want to stay, you're more than welcome to stay. If you guys want to answer any questions, and Mr. Elmazi, I know you'll screen the questions. If you want to answer any questions, you're more than happy to do so. If you guys want to stay a little bit longer, you're more than happy. If you got to go, it'll break my heart, but I'll understand. And I can bring people up. For those who might want to give some words of wisdom or just kind of some words of encouragement, I will drop the link and see how that looks. Everybody in this on my side, they're cool. They're cool. I promise you, I can vouch for them. To the moderators, I just dropped the link for anybody who wants to come up. Mr. Elmazi, go ahead. What were you about to say?
Oh, I was gonna say, Julia and I have been in enough internet fights, so we can handle ourselves.
Yeah, you guys are warriors now. Let me tell you, the internet's interesting. I will say this, you can't do nothing about the ignorance of people, right? You just can't. There's some very sad people out here. Unfortunately, God gave everybody a mouth, but everybody doesn't deserve to speak, you know, unfortunately. And so just ignore them. I deal with it a lot too. You know, I put myself out here to try to help. You'd be surprised how much pushback I get. From people who just hate the police so much that they don't really want to hear anything that any officer has to say. So with that being said, those who have some questions, shout out to the Seattle Black veteran. He's also a veteran. He's a seaman, I believe. I think he's Navy. She said, "Just love to my brother in a tie today." Yes, you know, had to cover the chocolate up, wrap it up properly for y'all today. I have my important guests. So you guys know I do that. Thank you so much, Seattle Black Veterans. It's a good brother right here. Listen, Lioness is she's tough. She used to when I first started this, she gave me a little bit of trouble. You know, she didn't like the police, and then now she's like, "Nathan, I love you. You're different." Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. You guys, if you want to call in, feel free. You want to go through a few questions? You guys, yeah, go ahead.
So I think, Mr. Mazi, if I'm not mistaken, anyone can file was it an open records request or report? So I don't know how many views you got right now, Mr. Daley, but I would really appreciate if everyone would go. If we can get like a link or something.
Okay.
And y'all fill it out. Help me out, please.
I'll bet.
Because I honestly don't. I'm not sure if everyone had their body cameras on, because one of the officers that came to interrogate me, he did not turn his body camera on until he began questioning me, and he made it clear. He made it very evident that he didn't have it on, because when he began questioning me, he was like, "Oh, wait, let me turn my camera on." So I don't know, but if everyone could help me out, I really, really, really appreciate that.
Yeah, what I would do, I think that's a great idea, because I actually, honestly, when we talked about it before, I said I think it'd be a good idea for me to also try to. It said error. Hold on, let me redrop the link again. Make sure I didn't copy it wrong. Hold on, Dwayne. I see you. Give me 1 second. Yeah, I think I'm gonna make I was saying before, I think I'm gonna make a request as well. To be honest, I think that'll be really, really cool. Let me remove these videos. Give me 1 second. Remove this one. Remove from studio. Okay. And then that way I can see if anybody decides to come up. Okay, yeah, I think that'll be great. I will work on that. My next stream, I can definitely do that. And then we'll talk about what the information is needed, and I can share with everybody. We can do whatever we need to do. Write letters on your behalf too. Listen, I have some warriors over here. They're down for the cause. So I think it's so necessary. It's so necessary. And it needs to be the norm that when people have an experience with an officer, I'm gonna start telling people request the officer's records and letting that be the norm and get to know your officer, get to know who they are, because it's public information and they try their hardest to make it not public. Unfortunate. Yes, if you guys want to come up, I had some questions that were starred. I starred some. Let me see. Oh, this is true. I thought that was just a true statement. Who had something? I thought this was a good question, Mr. Elmazi. This one's kind of directed to you. If you guys want to come up, please hit the button and you got a cam up for this one. And if you guys have any questions, please put it in the chat.
Oh, you want me to go ahead and answer this question?
Oh, yeah. It says, is there any liability on the hotel for them disclosing you and your brother without a warrant? And will you sue the hotel as well? If that's something that you can answer.
Right.
Yeah.
And I will broadly say, without saying we're going to file a lawsuit, that we've already sent a letter to the hotel and to the city of Arlington, sort of putting them on notice that we're requesting not only body cam footage, but surveillance video from within the hotel. Because we do think there is some liability there on had this hotel worker in this hotel not directed police to the wrong room, and God knows what he said to even make anyone a suspect in this case, but had that not happened, I think this whole situation could have been avoided.
Absolutely. And I think people forget that you still need the elements of probable cause. I think some people just forget. You know what I noticed though, Mr. Elmazi and Jalea, that unfortunately you have some officers that don't know the law well. They don't know the law well. And we've seen them with like these First Amendment auditors. They test these officers and they provoke them emotionally, and then they end up violating people's rights just because they couldn't control themselves.
Right. And let me say, I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm going to try not to speak too much on this, but especially about those First Amendment auditors. When you file a lawsuit in federal court, what always happens without fail is the city that employs an officer will file a motion to dismiss your case. And they always argue that an officer is entitled to what's called qualified immunity. And I don't know how extensively you've talked about it on your show, but it essentially protects or shields officers from liability if the law is not clearly established that what they were doing was violating your rights.
Yes.
For example, and you guys may be familiar with the case of Botham Jean in Dallas, who was killed he was in his apartment when an off-duty police officer, still in uniform, walked into the wrong apartment, walked into his apartment,
Yes,
her apartment, and shot and killed him. Now, the law firm I worked with before I went on my own is the law firm that's handling that case, and so we worked that case. And one of the issues we always discussed is if a case is a case of first impression, you will have a difficulty succeeding in it because you have to show that there were previous instances that would have put this officer on notice that what they're doing is wrong. For example, if I shoot someone in the back and it's the first time a police officer has ever shot someone in the back, all of a sudden you get qualified immunity because it's never happened before.
correct.
And so that is such a terrible burden on any civil rights litigants. And that's why those First Amendment auditors, I've seen a bunch of those videos where they tell those officers, hey, you're on notice, I can film in public. That's clearly established law. Yes. You should know that that's police officer 101 training, right? You should know I'm allowed to film here, and I'm putting you on notice that you're going to lose your qualified immunity. Like, you can't be that stupid, right? That's
right.
the argument.
I always tell people it's a very hard concept. You guys, we're talking about qualified immunity. Diane, thank you for that comment. I really appreciate that. Yeah, we keep it real over here, you guys. Qualified immunity, officers do need civil protection. They do need it. The problem with qualified immunity is that it protects good officers and bad officers. and you can pick and choose which officer you want to protect. That's the issue. There's a loophole with qualified immunity that makes it a catch-all type of situation. And it's a strong way to shield officers that you want to protect and prevent from being sued. That's the problem. All you have to do is take the loophole out. What is the loophole? The loophole is anything that has been considered to be law that's already been discussed, and basically saying that, hey, clear and present, you cannot do this, right? So pre-established, if it's already established that you cannot do this and it's in the law, then you can be sued for. But if it's not there, then you cannot be sued. The best way to explain it to where it really makes sense, you guys, is, and I've used this example on this channel before explaining it. If you have a child and that child takes a pin and they stick the pin in a socket, in an electrical socket, and as a parent, you go over there and you want to beat the kid and they say, hey, listen, I want to discipline you, but because I never told you that there you go. So if you start off like this to hit a child, you're going to jail, right? So what happens as a parent? You don't want to discipline the child because you never told the child that that's not okay for you to do. That is the crux of qualified immunity. Is it fair that we discipline officers if they weren't told that this was something they can't do? Now, what happens? Officer number 2 says, I got a pin too. And the officer number 2 goes and sticks the pin in the socket again, just like officer 1 did. But then right before you discipline officer 2 says, hold on. He had a black pin. I had a red pin. And because my pin is red, you can't discipline me. And the court's like, you're right. That's the problem. It's common sense law. It's common sense decisions that are being overlooked because they try to hide under the umbrella of this one little thing was different. It's the same scenario, right? The officer may have done this slightly different. And that's the issue with qualified immunity. It makes it too easy to make excuses. Whereas a lot of things need to be based off of common sense and logic. Officer, you clearly violated. This is not how you were trained. If you shoot out inside your car, out the window, a person doing this, that this was going to lead to this. This is common sense. Again, we coddle officers when they make stupid decisions. And because the law is crafted the way it is, it allows them to use that as leverage to protect the officer. And so because that loophole exists, it's a problem. How do I solve it? Let officers get their own damn insurance. Let them get their own insurance. Officers walk around, they have insurance, maybe $1 million policy each, just like doctors have malpractice insurance, right? It's a profession. In order to keep your license, you have to be insured. You take the money away and take the money away from the taxpayer. They don't have to pay that. This is money that comes out of your own pocket as a police officer. So if you violate someone's rights, like Jalea's rights were absolutely violated, her Fourth Amendment right was absolutely violated, right? That happens, guess what? And her Fifth Amendment right was violated. So if this happens, then what's going to happen? They sue that officer who violated her rights directly. That protects everybody else who wasn't involved. Or if there's 3 officers that violated, then guess what? All 3 of y'all got $1 million policy. I need $500,000 from each. I need $500,000 from each one of y'all, right? You can all share in the burden that you participated in. Because what ends up happening, officers start seeing it and they're like, hey, dude, you're wrong. Slow down, because I cannot afford to be a part of this because I'm witnessing it. And by witnessing it, I'm condoning it. This is what got the other 3 officers in George Floyd in trouble, right? They weren't trained that way, and they should have did something or said something. So officers have their own insurance. They get sued directly. If the insurance company realizes you've been sued twice, they say, listen, man, you're a liability. We're not going to take you anymore. State Farm drops you. Then you go look at Geico. Hey, can you take me on, bro? Can you take me on? Nah, player, we can't even mess with you, bro. You've been sued twice. Guess what that means? If you can't get insurance, you can't keep your license. If you can't keep your license, you can't police. If you can't police, you're like, damn, I might have to bounce to Texas. I was in Georgia acting a fool. Texas say, nah, player, we can't insure you either. Guess what? You solved the grass hopping problem just like that. Because regardless of where you go, it doesn't matter. If nobody wants to insure you and help you keep your license, you can't practice law. Doctors go through the same thing. And listen, doctors kill more people than police do. Over 300,000. And they get insured, right? And so at the end of the day, that is the best solution. Officers get their civil protection. Citizens get access to them directly. You can circumvent around qualified immunity. That's my thoughts on that. What you think, Mr. Elmazi?
Well, I've actually never heard of that before, but I like it. I think I'm going to adopt it going forward.
Let's do it.
Because until officers have some skin in the game in terms of liability, they're not going to, change their policing. And, I've heard a lot of, and I'm glad you didn't bring up this as a solution. I've heard a lot of people say the way you fix it is make the money come out of the officer's pocket. The problem is that's not enough to change the system. We know officers
are broke.
Right. And that's a mess. So dealing with insurance, someone who handles the purse or who has the strings there, I think that's crucial. And I really like that idea. And last thing I will say about that is officers can violate their own department policies. For example, shooting into a moving vehicle, typically not allowed in most departments. They can do that, still keep their job, and still avoid civil liability in a lawsuit. Because, I've argued this extensively in court. They say, oh, you can violate policy and procedure, but you didn't violate the law. The law is not clearly established, which is just really ridiculous. It's like, how were you not on notice you couldn't shoot into a moving vehicle when you're on the road? It says it. But, the courts have not made that an exception necessarily in some cases. So, you get screwed over.
The law is not clearly established. That is the statement. I was trying to get it. I couldn't.
Yeah.
Because I'm not an attorney. I struggle with some of these things.
And so it's like, first they have two things. Was the officer's actions reasonable? And that's a whole complicated thing. And second, if you say, okay, it was unreasonable, you go to the second part, which says, was the law clearly established that he should have known it was unreasonable? Right. And courts sometimes will avoid the whole first element I just said. They'll say, you know what, we're not going to decide whether he was reasonable or unreasonable, but we're going to say the law was not clearly established.
Yep.
And then you're like, well, can you please just tell us? Was it that way going forward is clearly established, right?
Right.
Like settle it right now and say shooting into a moving car is unreasonable. And they're like, no, we're going to decline because no other court's done it. And it's like, well, then we'll never settle that law, right?
Yep.
And so it's a problem with the courts and the judicial process too. And it's a headache, man. And I told Jalea this, I believe, the first time we met, is I don't know that civil rights law can last another decade the way it's going right now, because it's virtually impossible to succeed in cases. And, it's a very unfortunate circumstance.
You can't succeed without the backing of the people. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And you see what happens when we have organizations that champion the wrong causes or the wrong things, right? Black Lives Matter is an example. They have a lot of power, a lot of influence, but the wrong method, the wrong ideas. And because of that, we got George Floyd Policing Act. They're trying to do that thing. But then when you look at it and unveil it, you look at it's not really anything at all. And then you also recognize that these things need to happen on the state level. The state level is where you're going to have the biggest impact when it comes to police reform. The feds can only do so much. They can leverage their money, they can leverage their power. But at the end of the day, the states need to come to an understanding. We the people, it's how it states. We the people. I don't know where we've gotten this whole thing twisted where we don't have the power we have. We're not coming together properly to actually make the changes. And the people we're constantly voting in are not doing their job. Simple as put. Black folks, we love the Democrats and they don't do a damn thing.
Ooh.
She said, who? They don't do what they're supposed to do to be earning them votes they get. Lord have mercy. But that is those are my thoughts. I thank you guys so much. Does anybody have any questions? See, y'all be scared. A couple of y'all were talking some tough talk. Anybody want to come up and say anything before I drag y'all a little bit? Real talk, Sailor Black Veteran. Anybody have any thoughts? Anybody have any questions for Jalea or Mr. Elmazi? Anything, anybody? Speak your piece. Speak your piece. Yes. All right. Listen. You guys, I'll probably stay up for a little bit, maybe like 30 minutes and talk to everybody. I was gonna come out the tie, but I'm actually looking pretty good. I might keep it up. Keep it up. There you go. Yeah. I'm about to listen. I'm about to do a little photo shoot. Sis, you gotta put your boy. Yeah, I get a little. All right. So other than that, you guys, again, my door is always open. Any questions that you have, if we get access to that body camera, if you need help, looking through one honest opinion from my perspective.
Let's hope we can get it.
Facts. We'll get it. I mean, it takes time, but my thing is get the media involved.
Well, media has made their own requests. So
that's right.
And a lot of times they have more access than a law firm in getting it, obviously. So yeah, I honestly think that if we ever see that before going to court, it's going to be through the media somewhere.
Jeez, it's a nasty process.
Yeah,
it is. It's funny, and I mean, I get there's reasons for it, and I get it, but then there's reasons why they abuse it. And here's another thing too. I'm a firm believer that the victim should have access to the body camera footage. Even if they decide not to publicize it, I believe that the citizen needs to have access. In my opinion, I think that's key. Even if they're like, "Hey, we're not going to send it out because we don't want the backlash," at least you get to see it yourself.
Well, in Arlington, I've had a case of a wrongful death case where they actually invited us into the department to watch the video,
right?
Which I'm surprised about. But they have the capability of doing that. Of course, I don't think they're going to do it for Jalea and I in this case, but they have the power to do it, but they choose not to.
This is true. It's unfortunate. But listen, no worries, you guys. Thank you again so much. Jalea, you are amazing. You are like a warrior out here, and so thank you for just being strong, being courageous. You have a lot of support. Don't worry about all the clowns on social media and on the internet. Clowns are clowns. That's what they're here for. They have a job too. And they make us better people at the end of the day. Same thing with you, Mr. Elmazi. Anytime, you're doing these and tackling these cases, you're going to get some pushback from these pro coppers out here. I have to deal with them too. Oh, but officers need to do this. It's like, shut up. I did the job. He's a fool. He should have handled himself better, right? Like, it's like, come on, so don't let those things discourage you. I just believe we just got to put the right, Justice League together. That's kind of what it is. And combat the foolishness. It takes real people to stand up and take charge. So I appreciate the work that you're doing. And I appreciate both of you guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Daley, for again taking interest in my story and allowing me to come on here, just kind of share with everyone what really happened, because the police are saying, "Oh, your TikTok video is missing context," like as if it really made a difference. Like they
True.
Wrong. And Mr. Elmazi, thank you so much for taking on my case. I really appreciate you.
Oh, absolutely.
Facts. No, thank you. I appreciate that. You're right. TikTok mixing context. Then by all means, come out here and correct it. Right. By all means, make it right. That's how you. If it's missing context, that's the part. That's the whole part. A lot of things are missing context. The media missed context. Body camera footage is missing context, but nobody wants to come and speak.
Right.
No one wants to. Where'd that gun come from? Then all of a sudden, we ain't see it in the body cam. Where'd them drugs come from? Y'all said it. It's missing context, but everybody's silent. I don't get it, because you have something to hide. So it's all good. We're gonna handle it. So you guys, thank you again. I'm just you guys got my contact information. Don't hesitate. You're always welcome up here if you want to discuss even other cases, Mr. Elmazi. You guys know how to find them. Please check out Julia's GoFundMe. Please support her cause. It's a great cause. And please, spread the word about Mr. Elmazi. He's a great guy. Great guy. We're all out here trying to fight the battle. All right. Fight the battle. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. All right.
All right, guys. Good night. Thank you all.
Good night. Okay. Ooh, great stream, you guys. Listen, I hope you guys learned. I hope there was some valuable information that you guys were able to pick up on. It's great. It's my first time having an attorney on. I need to get TLA on here. I've been playing. I'm about to holler at him. Brother, he's 150K strong. I gotta get him on here. It's good to first time having a civil attorney. Shout out to all our attorneys in this space. We know we got Suzette Speaks as well. She's also a civil attorney. I'm gonna definitely bring her on the channel. I'm about to talk to her about that. I was on her show last night. It was a great conversation. So you guys, it's good to hear from other people from different professions to get their experience. Him sharing the stories he shared with me. I was a little irritated by it because I didn't know that these were the struggles, right? That they were going through as attorneys getting information. Again, you guys, I'm like, if there's nothing to hide, why are we making things difficult? In Georgia, I don't know. From my experience, I know a lot of departments cough up information because, again, there's a state law that forces them to do so. And they have to do it within a certain time frame. And I've been pulled over. I had an experience where I was pulled over and I was treated, I wasn't treated poorly, but the officer was an imbecile. And I never told him that I was a cop. I just let him. I never tell officers that I'm a police officer. I just like to see how they're gonna handle the situation, and so I let them do their thing. And he was a complete idiot, you guys. He was. I'll never forget this. And I said, no worries. My brother was in the car with me. My brother's like, man, just tell him you was a cop. Show him the badge. I said, bro, hold on, bro. I said, slow down, brother, slow down. I said, I always like to see how I'm gonna be treated. He was a white officer. He didn't treat me bad. He was just an idiot. We're in a car accident. It was a car accident. And he cited me like 5 tickets, you guys. Just extra for no reason. No reason, not knowing I understood the law and he was doing too much. So I tried to explain to him a couple things. He was just rude. So what'd I do? A couple days later, I had to report that I was pulled over and I was cited, right? I had to tell my job that as officers, you're supposed to tell them. They're like, what happened? Here's what happened. Boom, boom, boom. Cool. They say, no, you're a cop. No, I didn't tell them. Cool. I went, because I knew the officer was an idiot. I went and I pulled his file. I went to the department. I requested an open records request. They said, what information do you want? I said, I want all of it. I want his entire employee dossier. Give it to me. Give me all of it. And they tell you how much it costs. I think I ended up paying maybe like $30 worth of print because they charge you for the time the person has to get the information, whatever, and print the paperwork. Went there, got it same day, you guys. The officer's complete profile, his complete dossier, the same day. This is in Georgia. And you hear what Mr. Elmazi is saying as an attorney. He said, I'm a private eye. I'm kind of looking like one, right? Right? Officer Daly or Mr. Daly. What do I call myself? I don't know. So I pulled his whole file. You guys, his file was this thick. I swear to you, it was thick. Like half the size of a Bible. Full of foolishness, drama. Full of drama. He had been suspended for domestic issues. He got suspended for a week for cursing out a supervisor. He had a situation where he used his computer to actually run his girlfriend's suspected lover, right? License plate. They found out he was using his police computer to run the license plate of a lover, of his lover's lover, whatever, right? He got caught, domestic. So, right? He still had his job. He He had a series of issues and complaints. He still had his job. He was working in a department with officers, we call it like a dumping ground, where after you've been fired from maybe a bigger department, it's these smaller little rinky-dink departments that'll keep you on. They'll hire you, right? Where all the problem officers go, right? That's the problem, you guys. Their pay is really low. They don't really have a lot of crime. But the problem is they still have the power, right? You're a pathetic officer. And because you're a pathetic officer, you go somewhere where they accept you. They welcome you with open arms. Well, the problem is, though you may lose pay, you may lose respect, you don't lose the power. So you have officers who they just transition and they work for a smaller department. And that's where he was. He was an imbecile, you guys. And what happened? Well, I saw in this paperwork where he had perjured himself a couple times. He still had his job. You guys, the way it was told to me, if you ever get caught lying in this profession, you get fired because they can't use you to testify on cases. Because any attorney who sees that you have lied before, right, under oath, you've lied, he lied on the stand or something, he got caught lying, I can't remember the details. He still had his job. You allowed a liar, a known liar, a man with no integrity, maintain his job and a badge and enforce laws on it. Come on. Negative retention, you guys, is what it's called. Negative retention. Now, what happened? So I go to court and they're like, hey, how do you plead? Not guilty. I'm about to pay $450 worth of tickets. Even though I was wrong in the accident, you guys, check it out. Right? I was wrong in the accident. He just really overcharged me. I was wrong. I wouldn't say I wasn't wrong, but here's how it works. Here's how the game works. There's no way you're going to convict me of anything, and you're a liar. You're a liar. So what happened? They pushed it up. They pushed it up. We go back to the trial date is set. And funny enough, right? The prosecutor comes up to me and he's like, hey, I just saw the stack of this officer's files that you left on my desk. And also I heard that you're an officer as well. I said, yeah, I am. He said, listen, we really don't want to embarrass the officer. Is it okay if we just dismiss all the tickets, Officer Daly? I was like, I want to go to trial. I want to talk to him about it. I want to talk to him about it. He deserves to be embarrassed, you guys. He deserves it. So I kind of want to talk to him about it. Can we not go up there? This is what the prosecutor is telling me. Hey, this is embarrassing. This officer's record is completely embarrassing. We can't bring him up here. We just can't. That's how bad his record was. I was like, no. I need to speak to him because he didn't want to talk to me on the scene like he was supposed to. He was an ass. So the judge gets wind of it, and the judge is like, can you guys approach? Listen, I'm throwing this all the way out. I'm not gonna do that up in here. I was like, all right, John. So they threw it out. You guys, I was wrong. It was an accident. It was a single car accident, you guys. It hit the guardrail. It was the guardrail. But it wasn't like it was a single car situation. He cited me for failure to maintain lane. Here's the problem. It was a 1-lane road that the city split in half. That's not proper. State law says there has to be 12 feet road, like the lane has to be 12 feet. This is law. The city decided to just make their own road. So as I'm driving at night, I didn't know that I was too close to the rail and I hit the rail. Right? I hit the rail. But the road, the width of the road completely changed and I did not know it. And when I got out the car, I'm like, man, I said, the car's not even in the lane. What is this about? And I could tell the lane was different. I'm trying to tell the officer when he showed up, hey, the lane is not accurate. Sir, you went off the roadway and hit I said, I didn't go off the roadway, clown. The road changed on me. This is really one lane. The city's too damn cheap to widen the roadway. So instead of paying the money to widen the road, you cut it in half. You're giving it 6 and 6 on both sides. That's not proper. By law, that's a violation of state law. It has to be 12 feet wide. I didn't go off the road, clown. That's what I told him. What I do, you guys, went back there, took pictures, had my little tape measure, right? Oh, yeah. The officer wouldn't listen. He didn't care. He didn't care. Pro Anthrax. He said, were you dirty, cop? How about you cam up and have the conversation if you want to see how dirty of a cop I was? By all means, you guys, drop the link for those who want to come up. And that avatar face, Lord of mercy. We know you're not going to come up. Nobody's listening. Well, that's fine. Please drop the link for Professor Anthrax. If you want to come up and have the conversation, you're more than welcome. More than welcome to come up and have the conversation. You guys, let the trolls be. They're here for a reason. We need them. We need the trolls. Bless their heart. Lioness said, don't include me. I'll listen. So what happened? The judge threw it out. The judge said she didn't want to hear it. I had everything. I had all the evidence. I had all the evidence to support. Yes, I did strike it, but it wasn't my fault. Trolls feed the algorithm. Amen. Bring them. Pound for pound, shout out. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Threw it out. $500 worth of tickets. Had an advantage, you guys. I knew the law, and I also understood how to investigate the officer to make sure the officer. I knew the officer was an idiot. I knew it. I knew it just for the way the officer was treating me and talking to me. Oh, that's true. You're right. I'd be so ready. I'm sorry. You're right. You're right, Damien. You're right. I apologize. No, because someone timed him out, so you must have said something crazy. But you're right. Sometimes I'm so ready to go. I'll be ready to go. Listen, you guys want to come up real quick before I close out? But what they were saying was very important, you guys. We talked about the civil process in a sense. Oh, really? That's what's up. Shout out to Brown. That's the homie. Tell him he need to come up, Dre. Tell him he come up and have the conversation. God, I haven't talked to him in a minute. Definitely we're gonna do a special where we have a lot of officers from my academy come up, and we're gonna have a conversation with you guys. You talked to my a good friend of mine a couple weeks ago. That was a very, very good conversation. So anybody want to come up, please come up. Yo, tell Brown I said what's up. Dre, tell him I said what's up. Give him the rundown on how to jump on if he wants to come on and have the conversation. He is always welcome. I think we got Dwayne in the back. Yeah, shout out to the homie. You guys, listen, we had a great stream last night. I'm about to run that back on the channel. Shout out to We Need to Talk, you guys. This brother right here is sharp. He keeps me sharp. We had a great conversation last night about domestics and police response to domestics and things like that. It was great conversation. So please go check him out. We Need to Talk. My brother's channel is growing. I'm trying to catch up to him. One love to the chat. Dwayne, sorry for keeping you, brother. Sorry. Can you hear me? Uh-oh. Dwayne got the struggle service. Dwayne. Dang, I want to hear him too. Dwayne, your audio is not coming in. Yo, Damien. We are Jamaican. My brother's a young police officer. Just gonna subscribe. Yo, big ups. Yo, shout out to all my island people. Shout out to them. Yes. Again, I was on Suzette's joint last night. We was chopping it up. It's a lot of work. Oh, he said he's working. Are you working, Dre? That's cool. It's cool. Dre hard at the job, keeping y'all safe out here behind the scenes. Yeah, 6 and 6. Lauren says 6 and 6 on each side does not allow for emergency equipment to travel, such as any vehicles on farm. Yep. 6 and 6 don't work. And at night, you don't really tell. You don't, especially if you're not familiar driving that area, you lose that distance really quickly. So very true. Yeah, they threw it all out, man. They threw it all out. Wow, I'll keep trying. Lost audio just now. Let me see. Can you hear me, bro? Can you hear me? Dwayne said he out in the middle of Pacific Ocean or something like that. Brother out here sea surfing. Uh-oh. Dwayne, you there? Dwayne. Damn. I'm gonna remove you and then have you come back up. Let's see if it'll work. You guys, it's been a long day. I did that video with hold on. I did a stream earlier, you guys, with Johnny Depp. And his wife. We're talking about domestics. Seems like domestics are kind of the thing right now. We're on to celebrity number 2. We just got done dealing with your boy Will Smith and Chris Rock. That was crazy. Uh-oh. Shout out to Jocelyn. We got a new member in the house. You guys got to do that membership dance, that new member dance. Okay, Jocelyn, thank you. Thank you so much. Listen, you guys, I told myself when I hit 10,000, I'm going to get myself a little soundboard so I can make all them cool noises and stuff like all the other content creators. You guys, we are on our way. We are on our way to 10,000. We're almost there. So please share, spread the love, you guys. My goal is to try to get to 10,000. No, we are going to get to 10,000 before May 9th. So I got to hustle. I got to come out here and do some outreaching exercise. Yeah. I'll be dancing, Jocelyn. I get down. It's the island in me. I get down. So shout out to you, Jocelyn. Thank you so much for your support. When you jumped on the channel, you saw me streaming, you were like gung-ho. And that really means a lot, you guys. It is truly a blessing to move people in a positive way to where they see value in what you're doing and then they want to stand behind it. So blessings to you. Thank you so much. I'm blessed to be here, and so this is a new project for me, along with all the little things that I am doing behind the scenes. I am working really hard, you guys, putting together reform ideas, and talking to you guys it helps a lot. I've learned a lot, actually. And even like tonight with our guest, hearing her story moves me. And not only that, it enforces and reinforces me in a sense as well. It's more armor that I put on myself when I go into this battle, because I'm taking her story with me. Just like all the other stories of people that I've encountered throughout my 13 years in this profession. And I'm taking all of those people's stories with me, you guys, because that's who I'm speaking for. And again, you guys, you know, I'm not perfect. You know, sometimes I might say things that you might not like. But again, we can all agree on that. We can all agree that we all want the same things. We all know that something needs to change and that we need to bring about some better outcomes with police and police in the Black community, period. No way around it. Absolutely no way around it. Jocelyn, that's okay, Jocelyn. It's a beautiful photo, actually. Okay, y'all not playing with these avatar photos tonight. Okay. You know, so again, I think it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Yes. Shout out to Pretty Ugly Truth. You guys, that's she hooked me up right there. That's the gift right there. Shout out to Pretty Ugly Truth. That is a super warrior for the cause right there. She's gonna have her channel as well, and her voice is absolutely needed just as much too. You know, we're in a position, you guys, to where people who are doing these professions that can speak life, speak truth into our community, areas that need to be fixed and repaired. We need people who are doing the work, because their voice is what's missing. And YouTube gives us this space to do it. You know, we don't do none of that tomfoolery stuff over here, you guys. We have real conversations. We have mature conversations. And we get to it. Tomorrow night, you guys, it's going to be a powerful discussion. We touched on a little bit tonight. We had Mr. Elmazi, a civil rights attorney. He's telling you about how to handle police encounters, about, hey, am I free to go? Are you investigating a crime? Am I being detained? You heard from Jalea. She's saying, I just wanted to just cooperate. I just wanted to cooperate, even though I knew they were up to no good. It was just, I was scared. It felt safer just to listen and comply. And it's unfortunate, you guys. And now she's doing the work on the back end, right? That's how you do it. That's how you do it. It's not fair that you have to do it that way, but it's the safest way to do it. They can't say she was aggressive. They can't say she was rude. They can't say that she wasn't cooperative. They have nothing on her. They have no leverage. She didn't give them a reason. She didn't give them any reason. The department has some explaining to do. And someone needs to come out and explain it. Right? So tomorrow, 7:30 p.m., you guys, it's going to be a powerful conversation. It's a premiere. It's in reference to a case involving a gentleman who shot an officer, and he's claiming self-defense. We're talking about someone who did not play it on the back end. He played it on the front end. He said, I was in fear for my life, so I shot the officer in the head. There's laws in certain states. In the state of Georgia, you have a right to resist from an unlawful arrest. If you feel like you're being arrested and detained unlawfully, you have a right to resist. No attorney, even in school, a L1 or 1L, no one would tell you who practices law that resisting arrest is in your best interest, even if the officer is wrong. No one, you guys. He decided to resist arrest by killing the officer. And he said it's self-defense. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. Was it justified or was it not justified? We're going to talk about it, you guys. Stay tuned. He was part of the NFAC, the Not Fucking Around Coalition. They say it's a black supremacy group. I don't know. I couldn't find a website on them or anything. That's just what they say online. So after that, for those who have comments, questions, and concerns, for those who might not like how the conversation is going to go, I'm starting a stream 10 to 15 minutes right after the premiere of that video, giving people the opportunity to come up and speak their piece. Because we don't run from conversations over here. Right? I'm the translator, you guys. My job is to translate. I'm here to bring some wisdom and some insight to the profession. If you just so happen to not want to receive it, that's on you. You can never say someone didn't try. You can't say it. And just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's not true. Doesn't mean it's not true. Grassroots, absolutely. Oh, you got to tell me this story. Jocelyn, you got to tell me this story. What time tomorrow? You guys, I'm going to drop it again in the community tab. Let me see. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Let me see. Yeah, I can pull it up real quick. When you guys go to the channel, the link, there is a matter of fact, I'm gonna drop the link. Ooh, hold on. I need to do that. Get shareable link. I'm gonna drop the link to the video for the stream tomorrow. That's the video for tomorrow, you guys. If you want to take a look at it, it's a trailer. So I'm just learning about these trailer things now. So I'm adding trailers to the video because they help bring some context to it. Help get you hyped. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to be like my boy. We need to talk. He got a crazy operation over there. You guys, I just dropped the link to the video for tomorrow. It's going to be a great stream, you guys. You don't want to miss it. There's going to be, there's a lot to talk about. And I'm really focusing on how we as a people need to address officers who are, one, doing their job properly, two, doing their job improperly, and three, doing their job illegally. We got to talk about all three because it's very relevant. We just heard a story today about officers who bent and broke the law for their own benefit, manipulated the situation, using coercion as a tactic to get the outcomes that they wanted. Oh, Jocelyn came from. Oh yeah. Shout out to Storm Monroe. That gentleman right there is dope. I love his content. He's just very funny. I was on last night and someone came in. Jocelyn, I don't know if you saw someone came in with the hat. Looked like a character right out of Harry Potter. He was funny though. So I got a chance to stop through a little bit and got a chance to watch some of his content. Storm Monroe is a great guy. I really appreciate him. Shout out to him. I really appreciate him bringing me on and giving me an opportunity to speak. That was really dope of him, and I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate you guys who came over to support me from his channel. So thank you again, Jocelyn. And next time you're on his channel, tell him I said what's up, and let him know that I'm always keeping him in mind because it really meant a lot. So especially just getting in a place where I'm trying to outreach and get in different spaces to have the conversation. So it's definitely a big help. Conversation is gonna be good tomorrow. Linus, you talking about Othel? Yeah, I think so too. I think to me it seems like a little bit of a setup. I think someone set him up. That's my personal opinion. But the video that I do, regardless of a setup or how we're treated, there's different ways we have to we need to maneuver when dealing with the police. There's no way around it. No way around it. Shout out to Ados Detroit. What up? What up? Ados in the building. Shout out, shout out, shout out. Yeah, we just winding down, you guys. What time is it? 9 o'clock. Yo, I'm about to get in this kitchen. Make a little struggle meal. I went grocery shopping yesterday, so I can really put something together. So yeah, that was a great conversation. We had a great conversation. Got to get back on that channel again. I might try to jump on. I wonder if he'll do something with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. I wonder if he'll do a talk about that, because I'll go over there and talk about the domestic violence aspect of it. That'll be pretty dope. So I'll probably shoot him an email. Shout out to Storm. So yes, you guys. Well, listen, you guys, that's going to conclude it for tonight. Thank you guys so much for just supporting. Again, please, if you guys will go and check out Mr. Elmazi, show your support. You know, you can follow him on Instagram as well. Again, this is people who are doing the work in real time. So just show your love, show your support by even following him on Instagram. I think is great, because that way you can be informed when things happen as well. Please go and check out Jalea and her page, Instagram as well. And please, if it's in your heart to support her cause, her GoFundMe is in the description section of the video. Please go and check her out. Again, you guys, when you see people doing something, putting in the work, I always urge you to get behind it. People who are doing the work in real time, right? We don't talk about it over here. We be about it on this side of the fence, you guys. So, you know, any final thoughts, everybody, before we roll up out of here? We did good. I feel proud. I didn't keep you guys for 6 hours. You know, my older streams, I wouldn't say overdoing. I was having a good time. But I do try to manage my time a little better, because I really enjoy it. But man, the recovery, I don't know how some of you guys do it, be on here 6-7 hours. The next day, you guys, I struggle, you know. My daytime self, I have so much stuff to do in the daytime, and I use YouTube at night afternoon to kind of do my YouTube stuff. So again, please go and check out her page. Thank you again, Shayla, for dropping this. So her GoFundMe link, again, is in the description. Please check her out. She's great content. She's a great photographer as well. If you guys see her work, she's pretty dope work. So, daughter of Yah, where you at? I ain't see you earlier. Just run it back. Run the playback. You'll like this one. This is a good one. Yeah, she did. She's trifling. Jocelyn, if you look at I did a stream earlier on their domestic. I was breaking down their conversation they're having. They're a toxic relationship, them two. It's been crazy. Woo! Listen, you guys, we did good. I almost was gonna come out in the suit jacket, but I'm gonna end clean on y'all tonight. Last time I was in the suit, I had to come out the jacket and everything. And clean on y'all tonight. Thank you again so much, you guys. I hope you enjoyed. Dwayne, it's all good, bro. Next time I'm up to tomorrow night I'll be streaming, man. If you want to come up. I know you're having some computer issues. It's all good. Shout out to all the members, you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of this channel. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey. It means so much to me. Shout out to all my moderators. You guys, you know I can't do this without you. Truly a blessing, you guys. For those who donated tonight, thank you as well. You know that is so well appreciated. Those who also donated, took the time to donate. I know a couple of you, I saw it in the chat, donated to the GoFundMe account for Jalea. Thank you so much for that as well. I really, really, really appreciate you guys. And as you know, we're ending on a beautiful note tonight, like we do every night not every night, like I'm streaming every night, but you guys know what I mean. I really, really, really appreciate it. Lord, I'm about to eat because your boy hungry. You know, I got to go in the kitchen because, you know, it is what it is. You got to make your own meals. Yeah, it's a struggle, y'all. It's a struggle. But, you know, who knows? Things might change, right? Anyways, you guys, look and listen. One last thing. Tomorrow's going to be intense. We're going to have some people in the chat, you guys, who are anti-police. just, give them their space to express themselves. There's a home for them here as well. Because again, I'm not here to alienate anybody. We're here to have the conversation. We're here to find solutions, and we're here to coexist. So you're gonna have some people tomorrow that they're gonna say some nasty things about me just because I'm a cop, right? Or because I'm trying to advocate for police. And that's okay. So we're gonna have a different group of people. Some people are gonna be over here. So just be mindful. Don't take offense to anything negative. It's not personal, right? It's not personal. So tomorrow they get a pass, you guys. But then the stream after the premiere, the kitty gloves will be going off, and I'm gonna head on to them one-on-one. They know the rule. If you want to stand up, you got to cam up. I don't talk to avatars. So give them a little grace. We're gonna show them a little grace. It's gonna be a tough conversation, and I'm prepared to have it. So that being said, you guys, just be mindful. Moderators, you guys know how I operate. I love everybody. Unless they start doing real weird stuff, then please remove them. But outside of that, let them speak their piece. Listen, you guys, we don't argue with ignorant people. We let them have their space. All right. So just FYI, it might get a little crazy tomorrow. Don't worry. I got the hitters, and I'm gonna have the hitters in the stream too. Dre will be there. He'll be there, straighten them out as well. So stay tuned, you guys. Listen, thank you so much for tonight. Again, I really, really, really appreciate it. And with that being said, you guys, please let these truths find you where the lies have left you. And with that, good night and God bless.